Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira, pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
The Flashing Girl from Flushing, the nanny named Fran.
Oh, Mr. Sheffield.
Miss Fine.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Oh, Mr. Sheffield, a podcast about The Nanny, a 90s hit sitcom starring Fran Drescher. We rewatch them every episode. Yes. We're in season 2, episode 11, When You Pish Upon a Star. I am here with Toria Sheffield. My name is Shawn Pasquale. We are your co-hosts. Toria, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. I'm marveling at the fact that this means we are officially halfway through season 2. I have no idea.
Really? Is it 22 episodes?
I think so.
Wow.
Right? It's 22 episodes a season. This one has flown by. I think because we've been on vacation off and on all summer. This one has felt a little more like all over the place. So in terms of when we get time to do this, I'm shocked we've gotten this far, honestly.
I mean, look.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast still.
Yeah.
This show is really fun. I like watching it. It's really fun.
Yeah. Oh, I watched this episode with somebody who doesn't usually watch this, and I kind of felt bad because I was like, oh, I kind of just need to watch this. I hope it's okay. And we were this person was also genuinely laughing out loud at things.
This is a great, very bizarre episode.
Yes. It's the episode, by the way, where Mr. Sheffield casts a young sitcom child star to be in his new big production of Oliver. And Fran accidentally convinces this kid to quit show business. So that is the premise of this one. And I talked a lot about this last week, maybe I didn't even need to, but this is the episode where I really feel like Cece specifically kind of hits a stride in terms of really, really making this character her own, or rather the actress who plays Cece. Yeah. And it just really started to gel. She was always good, but I was like, no. Great. She's found it. And I hope we just keep seeing more and more of it.
I'm sure you noticed the echoes of Macaulay Culkin in this episode, right?
Well, yeah, I literally, didn't you see my Slack messages?
You couldn't, yeah, but I was talking about it for the benefit of the podcast we were recording.
You couldn't have just said, hey, yeah, I'll talk about it with you later. You just ignore me.
Yeah, I saved it for the show. Sorry.
It's like method actors who don't really, don't communicate outside of character.
Yeah, I'm always in character. I think it's important to point out that Macaulay Culkin suing his parents was a big deal in the 90s. And this is right when that was happening. And it was a pretty big, no one had ever really heard of that on that level before. I don't think of this kid is suing his own parents and he's filing to be his own custodian.
Yes.
Yes.
And it definitely reminded me of that. It also gave me the Jonathan Taylor Thomas vibe as well, even though this is actually kind of to be fair, a precursor to that, because he famously left Home Improvement to go pursue more serious pursuits. And it was a really, really big deal because he was such a beloved character on that show. But this was actually several years before that happened. So we can't really say they were, they were probably drawing from just countless times that this has happened.
Oh, absolutely. On sitcoms. Absolutely. This boy was definitely an amalgamation of terrible child stars.
Yes. Well, and so this whole thing begins, as actually a number of these episodes do, with Cece trying to convince Mr. Sheffield to cast a mainstream TV actor in one of his theatrical productions, basically to ensure ticket sales. And this is all revolving around this child star named Jack Walker from a sitcom called Royal Flush, which this is a super, super meta episode in that this TV show mimics the plot of The Nanny exactly.
Yeah, definitely. It's just Royal Flush is just The Nanny. And it's also an excuse for them to do one of my favorite jokes so far in this whole series, which is one of the kids says, "I like Full House better." And Fran goes, "What, are you crazy? A Royal Flush beats Full House every time." And it's like such a weird meta poker joke for no,
yes.
like, it's so stupid,
you're right.
but I loved
right.
it. It's a poker joke.
You're right. Yeah.
Royal Flush beats Full House every time. It was a poker joke. I was like, look at that. Look, I wonder if they named it Royal Flush just so they could do that Full House joke, or if they, so
or
great.
if they were just like, oh, wait a second, are you guys thinking what I'm thinking?
I don't know. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but I love it just the same. I love the omelet.
But so, Mr. Sheffield is extremely resistant to do this. He's like, no, I want, a more legitimate actor. And, Cece's like, no, it's literally just been announced that he's leaving his show because he wants to pursue more serious acting roles. This is perfect. And she even says something where she's like, you don't understand, Maxwell. Like, this will guarantee that even the lowest common denominator of people will want to come see this show. And no sooner does she say that, does Fran come in, I think eating a Hot Pocket.
Yeah.
Wow. And then she's like, oh my God, Jack Walker, he's a genius. And she like recites his like catchphrase, which is something like, it's like, hey, yo, out of here.
He goes, hey, yo, whoa.
Yes. Yes. Which is another Full House dig.
I think also a nod to Blossom too, to like Joey's like, whoa. Because like that was his literal catchphrase was, whoa.
Yes.
Whoa, yo.
Catchphrases are just the fact that they exist is kind of incredible.
Did I do that?
Hey,
my shorts.
And this child actor is played by an actor named J.D. Daniels. He was born in 1918. He was born during the height of the Spanish flu, which really...
He's also, maybe interestingly, the first vampire child actor ever on record. They don't talk about that a lot, but he is over 100 years old. And still looks exactly the same as he did in this episode.
He was born in 1980. So he would have been about 13 or 14 when this was filmed.
He is 1 year older than me.
Okay. Well, the thing is, he looks very young. Like when he first walked in, I thought this kid is 11 or 12. So he still has that childlike vibe in terms of his looks. Yeah. But the thing about a big premise of this episode is that he's basically a monster and he acts like a lecherous older man, even though he's
my exact note when he got introduced was, this little boy is a walking Me Too movement. Ha ha ha. What a piece of shit.
I mean, no, I can't wait to get there. I have so many all caps about a very specific part when he gets introduced.
This little kid is such a freaking asshole, dude.
He is so disgusting. But hold on,
he's so gross. He's like everything they want to do with Brighton, like times a billion. Like he's so much more lecherous and disgusting, this little freak.
Well, and I was kind of like, is this modeled after somebody that they know of in the industry?
Probably. It's probably modeled after the kid who plays Brighton. No, I'm just
Well, so basically Mr. Sheffield relents and he's like, fine, fly him out here. Let's make him an offer. We can put him up in the house for a week before his parents can join him. And so this leads to this very quick, very meta scene where right before he's about to arrive, Fran and the kids are settling down and actually watching an episode of Royal Flush. And I wrote, this is extremely meta and pretty dark, where they're watching and Brighton says something like, it's a classic formula. The older sister's an airhead and the little brother's obnoxious until he grows up into a teen heartthrob, which is very much clearly like the ideal trajectory for what the kid who plays Brighton would want. Like, that which is a little sad in retrospect because that's not what happened to him. But so there's that. And then the dark part is Fran goes, I wonder what will happen to the little one. And Gracie goes, she gets a breast reduction and goes to Yale, which is like so much to unpack there, but that's also definitely like what is her name? The Soleil Moon, the Punky Brewster. Yeah. Punky Brewster, like famously got a breast reduction. Yeah. And it is very much, it's not a trend, but there are definitely child actors who then go on to Ivy League schools. We talked about this. I had a class with JTT at Columbia. Mm-hmm. Remember? And Natalie Portman went to Harvard. And I think, by the way, I don't want to false advertise. I didn't really go to Columbia. I went to a different college, but I did take a class at Columbia. I feel like I should be upfront about that. I
was going to let you have it.
No,
you're a Columbia girl.
I went to a good school. I'm proud of my school. That's true. But he famously left Home Improvement to go to college. And like Julia Stiles, I think she left acting to go to Columbia. It kind of, I don't know if it happens anymore, to be honest, but it was definitely something in the 90s that was happening fairly regularly. So Gracie has that very dark line. And then that's when Jack Walker arrives. And that's when, he's wearing, this kid walks in. He looks about 11 years old. He's wearing a blazer, very fancy pants and shoes. He literally walks in, blows right past Mr. Sheffield. And he's like, yeah. Who are you? And he extends a hand to Fran in a super pervy way, literally looks her up and down, like ogles her body. And then
licks his lips.
Yeah, it was so disgusting. And I was like, how do you even direct a kid to act like this? And then he pinches her butt and slaps her butt twice in the same scene. This kid is so obnoxious and gross. And literally everybody except Brighton hates having him in the house because, Brighton is getting a lot of attention from the kids at school for like having famous child star, at his house. And that actually, I'll save one of my favorite lines for later, but it's a Cece line around this part. But so Fran ends up actually like losing her temper on this kid because he's just being so rude and entitled. And she says something like where she's like, why don't you just try to be a normal kid? Like, and she's like, do you even have one friend who's not on your payroll? And that inadvertently leads to that kid having this sort of big aha moment where he walks into Mr. Sheffield's office the next day, right after Mr. Sheffield has like thanked Fran for convincing him to hire this child because he's like, basically like the investors have gone crazy. This is like sure to be one of our biggest successes. And Cece's like, but it was my idea. And it just, and actually she goes, it was my idea. And Mr. Sheffield ignores her and goes, Miss Fine, I could kiss you. And then literally kisses her on the mouth, which is their third kiss in the canon of the show. But no sooner does that happen, does Jack walk in and basically say like, Fran, I thought a lot about what you said. I want to be a normal kid. Like I'd like out of my contract.
Yep.
And he walks out and Cece and Mr. Sheffield are furious. They're like, and Cece goes, 2 minutes in a room alone with him and you get him to quit show business. And then Niles goes, if only we could get her alone with Tori Spelling. And Mr. Sheffield is so angry that he's basically like, you are going to do whatever you have to do to get him to change his mind. And he's like, so you're going to, get dressed up nice and you're going to take him to the fanciest restaurant in town. And like, you are going to have a talk with him. And at first Fran's like, she's like, fine. She's like, but I'm not taking the limo. And he screams like, yes, you are. She's like, slave driver. And then she runs out. But then she runs back in and he's like starting to sort of like get settled back behind his desk. And she's like, well, but you're not going to buy me a brand new dress. And for a second, he's almost taken in by this, at which point he literally leaps over his desk to try to like get at her and screams, get out. And I laughed out loud at this. It was more physical comedy than we've ever seen from that actor. And it worked really, really well for me. Mm-hmm. Even though, as I mentioned to you earlier, the joke is that he's going to physically assault one of his female employees.
but hilariously. Here's my thing. I have a really hard time connecting to the stakes of any episode that is about Mr. Sheffield losing money.
Money.
Like, it's really hard. I think that, like, it's really hard for me to connect to any of it because it doesn't feel like there's any stakes, right? Like, there's literally nothing at stake here. I'm like, oh, what are they? Oliver's not going to make them millions more dollars. Like, he's in no danger ever of like losing the money he has. It's always just like whether or not they're going to make more money. So that played with me through the whole episode where I was like, even by the end, my last note in the notes for this is like, did like Mr. Sheffield even lose anything really? Like, did this really, any of this matter?
But I think while that's one way to look at something like this, that also invalidates a lot of really enjoyable entertainment if it's just in the lens of like, oh, but those people will be fine because they're people of privilege. Like that, you know.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that I feel that way when there's an emotional stake. It's just the only stake here was financial. Like, I'm not saying nothing that happens to Mr. Sheffield matters because he's rich.
This is his career, though. And I would assume that even if you're wealthy and you have, you know, a big flop or a big financial flop, you start to lose credibility, and a career that he has spent many years building, like, you know, it's
all right, that's fair.
It affects it. You know, I'm like, I get it. It is his career. He works hard at it. And we've even had, you know, like, you know, in previous episodes, they mentioned how he used to like be a lowly assistant in like the London theater community and stuff. So he's worked his way up. So I think like, even if I was going to be okay financially either way, if a play that I was very invested in or a project that I was very invested in was going to now be ruined, or I would be personally upset by it. So I could buy it.
I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. Okay.
But you know, that is obviously, that never happens to me because all my millions are always in projects that are also critically acclaimed.
So Fran now has to take the kid out and convince him not to quit acting. And they go to like this fancy restaurant, and then I think they had a Whoopi Goldberg lookalike.
Yes, there's a Whoopi Goldberg and Jack Nicholson lookalike, but the Whoopi Goldberg lookalike, she like probably because she had a big hat and glasses on, like, was a better sell. But you also couldn't. They
had me for a minute. I was like, "What is this?" And then I was like, "All right, that's got to be a lookalike."
It was a lookalike. I also like squinted, but it's like, yeah, when someone's wearing like half their face is already covered in sunglasses and they have a hat on, it's probably easier to like sell them as a lookalike.
Yes.
But then they have the real Bob Barker.
Yeah, they have the real Bob Barker.
And Fran
who was probably most famously known for getting punched in the face by Adam Sandler in a movie. Now, I mean, right? Like, how long has Bob Barker not been the host of The Price is Right? So over 20 years.
Oh, Jesus, I guess you're right. I guess
Drew Carey's been the host of The Price is Right for I think a decade, if not more.
That's insane. Well, yes, Bob Barker was the original and very famous host of The Price is Right. And Fran tries to guess how much his meal cost, which I loved.
Yeah.
And then basically she goes and tries to have a conversation with this Jack again.
2007.
Jesus Christ.
That's how long it's been since that guy was the host. There are people listening to this podcast based on the numbers that we get of our show statistics that were not alive yet when Bob Barker has already stepped down.
Wow.
So stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Toria.
It's fine. There's plenty of people older than me. so I can hold on to that. But
yes.
So she tries to have the conversation with him again, where she's like, "Oh no, like I was talking nonsense. You should still be an actor and you can still be a normal kid." At which point he breaks down sobbing and he's like, "Fran, I can't do it. Please. Like, I just don't want to do it anymore." And I believed it. It seemed like a genuine moment.
Yeah.
Although he did, I have a note that was like, don't you think his face was like grossly pressed against her boobs when she's consoling him?
Yeah. And then they make a joke out of it because then a photographer comes over and he immediately stops crying, smiles, takes a picture, and then puts his head right back in her boobs. And I was like, I feel like I feel like they're still trying to go for like he's like a gross little monster, but
well,
whatever.
I think that was more he has been trained from such an early age that like he, even in a moment of seemingly being in anguish, if someone's like photo op, he looks up and smiles. But so then we cut to the next scene, and it's very clear that Mr. Sheffield has decided to let young Jack out of his contract because clearly, Fran went back to Mr. Sheffield and was like, you have to do this for him. Like it's like about something bigger than our show. It's like about this kid's life. And no sooner do they accept that they made the right decision, does a news program come on that says, it turns out that young child star Jack Walker had only said he was going to leave his sitcom to leverage the producers for more money. So he's going back to his sitcom to make like $85,000 a week, which was a huge amount at the time for a young child.
Here's what I'll say.
So
if anyone's at fault here, honestly, it's Cece. I think Cece as a producer completely drops the ball in the fact that like she's so disconnected from what's going on in the entertainment industry that she doesn't know that this is happening. Like she's not aware enough, like contract negotiations, even at the time, like that's all I had to read was like Variety and Deadline and like, or the Hollywood Reporter, like to be aware that like negotiations are happening. So like,
but I think the whole foundation of this ploy is Variety and, Hollywood Reporter were reporting that he wanted to leave to pursue more serious endeavors. And that's what she was reading. And she didn't know that he was actually being pretty cunning and just trying to leverage that for more money on a sitcom. He publicly said he was leaving. So I don't know. I mean, maybe if she was better connected, she would have an even better insider's ear.
I think what did it is that it's in that final newscast that the newscaster is like, boy, anyone dumb enough to have been negotiating a contract with him now, like, while this is all going on, like, you deserve whatever you get. And so that made it seem like, oh, so this was like public enough knowledge that the reporter lady is like, you would have to be a moron to not know, like, oh, this kid is just playing like for leverage. Because like that was happening in the news at the time with like the Friends cast and shit. They were always like, maybe you're going to leave to go follow their movie career. And then like they would renegotiate for, 6-figure deal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, and so the episode ends with Fran looking at Mr. Sheffield because he is again clearly livid, and she goes, "And you said he wasn't a good actor." And then he lunges at Fran, and it's freeze frame.
No. They lunge out after to stop him.
No.
They go to run for the door.
No.
Yeah. They both look at each other and then they're both like, ugh, and like that's the freeze frame.
She's running away from him.
She's running away from him? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not how I said that.
This kid has been long gone. He's not in the house. He's not even.
No, he had just walked out.
Oh, let me see.
He had just walked out.
You're
he was
right.
like, oh, my cab is here. And then they turn on the news and they're like, what?
Wait.
I got that as like, they were like, oh, quickly go get him before he's gone.
Wait, I am literally in real time. I'm going into HBO Max and I'm going to. I completely interpreted it differently.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very compelling moment in podcasting history as we find out if Shawn or Toria is completely insane.
It's like that famous tennis match that they made a movie about.
Yes, it's like that famous tennis match they made a movie about. And what's funny is I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about the Steve Carell movie.
Yeah, with Emma Stone.
Yes.
Okay, when you Pish upon a star.
The Battle of the Sexes.
Yes. But I'm Steve Carell and you're Emma Stone. Let's see. I'm gonna win. Hold on, I'm watching.
Doesn't she conquer him in the end of that movie? She does.
No, I just meant that. Oh, wait, okay. I'm at the. Okay. So she's looking shocked. He's looking.
Yeah. dude.
I think it's ambiguous.
All right. There's no malice in his eyes. They're both just like, we got to go stop this kid.
I don't know. But the deal already went through. The deal's done.
Yeah, but now they realize that he played them, so they're gonna go be like, screw
I
you.
think
You're
he's chasing her.
We're not letting you out of your contract.
Hey, I have an idea. Listeners, what do you think that
What do you
means?
guys think that means?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's find out. Let's see what people think. Leave a message, leave a comment, tag us, Mr. Chef Pod, and let us know. And you have time to think about it because it's time for segments.
Okay, and I'll just say this: the winner gets to
What winner?
Well, whoever's right is the winner.
Whoever's right based on the people that respond. You're saying, gotcha. Okay,
Yes,
the
yes.
winner. Yes. What is the winner?
Wait, what would be fun? You a Pizza Hut pizza. You know I love a Pizza Hut pizza.
You do love a Pizza Hut pizza. All right, yeah, the winner has to buy the other person a Pizza Hut pizza.
Stuffed crust.
Stuffed crust. Oh yeah, stuffed crust. I mean, yeah, come on, we're not gonna.
Okay. That being said, segments.
And now segments.
So, segments.
Yeah, no, I think we should move on to segments.
To say we can move on to our segments.
And now segments.
With Shawn and Toria. Okay,
all right.
I had a lot of favorite lines from this.
Me too. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. This was a great episode. This and the last one, they're both really in their stride.
So one of my favorite lines was when Fran says that she will volunteer to watch this child actor for the week that he is staying with them. And Cece goes, she's like, oh, Maxwell, that's not a good idea. Nanny Fine isn't qualified to take care of Jack. He's a very important child. And Mr. Sheffield goes, unlike my children.
It's a great self-own.
Yes. And I think Niles even says like, oopsie.
Yeah.
Because she realizes the huge mistake she just made. I also laughed in that same scene at first, before they decide that the child will stay at their house, she's like, well, no, like you should put him up at a nice hotel. I'm thinking the Plaza. And she's, of course, thinking that she's going to be staying there with him. So she's like, which is right down the street from Elizabeth Arden, in case he needs a bikini wax. Made me laugh.
Yeah, well, she's constantly just trying to get whatever she can get for herself out of the whole deal.
Yes.
That whole sequence where she's like, that ends with him being like, no, he's going to stay here with us until his parents get in town. And she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. And then Cece goes, she's trying to say that she loves this young actor, Jack Walker, but she just goes, I love Jack Daniels. I mean, Johnny Walker. I mean, Jack Walker. It's just so sad and revealing of Cece.
Yep.
And my only other thing is there was more physical comedy with Cece. Like at one point, Niles dunks on her like he always does. And without even skipping a beat, like hardly without even like changing whatever she's already doing, she yanks the pin out of her blazer and just stabs him in the butt and then keeps on going with whatever she was doing.
It's
and
great.
You can tell like he has a moment where like he wasn't expecting the pushback, but he's kind of like, oh, okay, like fair enough.
Yeah.
But she's starting to sort of get her sea legs with Niles, and it actually was a really enjoyable little moment.
My other favorite line that you didn't mention was she's drinking like a smoothie or something that Niles makes. And he's like, how does it taste? And she's like, it tastes great. Thank you. And he's like, and he looks at the bottle of milk and he goes, I knew it. These expiration dates are meaningless.
Yes.
Which I thought was such a good. And then she immediately like looks down at like untrustingly at the glasses she's drinking out of. And then there's a beat in the background where she smells the bottle of milk as the scene continues. So I really like that. That was like, I mean, and all the stuff you mentioned, I like Bob Barker showing up.
Yes.
And I even like the twist at the end of them getting played by the kid. I really enjoyed that, that beat.
Very show businessy. And that kind of ties into our Yiddish as well, because I didn't clock any Yiddish in this episode.
What?
Wait, what did you clock?
What are you talking about?
What Yiddish?
He's a pishter. That's literally the whole.
When you Pish. Okay. Yes. I was in the title. In the title, you're right.
And she calls him a little Pisher, which is like a young, inexperienced, presumptuous person, a person or thing of no importance. He's a little Pisher. This little Pisher. What are you doing, you little Pisher? That Pisher has a big mouth. Who does he think he is?
Okay,
That's
you
the
got
Yiddish
me
of the
here.
week. I did the work.
You got me here. Well, because I had done you know how when I don't clock any Yiddish, I'll just bring in a relevant Yiddish term.
Sure.
So I had.
Don't waste it. Save it for a future episode where we got no Yiddish.
Okay. I'll save it.
Yeah. Pisher. That's your word of the week, folks. Pisher. Yeah. You would say like it's usually, I've always heard it used in reference to children. Like my grandma would go like, look at this little Pisher, what a big mouth, and it's basically like, what's this little kid doing?
So trivia this week.
Yeah.
So I thought that since this episode centers around a child actor on a hit sitcom, a male child actor, I would give the actor who plays Brighton a little TLC, sort of like we did a deep dive into Maggie a few weeks ago. I didn't know this actor's name off the top of my head, which is kind of embarrassing since I see it every single week. But his real name is Benjamin Salisbury. He was born in 1908. We do love those steaks. And he was born in
my favorite kind of TV dinner.
Oh, and also that was a quote. It was a joke from the nanny when she meets the Duke of Salisbury in the episode where. But so in the episode where Mr. Sheffield's sister visits. But so he was born in 1980 in Minnesota, and his biggest credits to date, other than the nanny, or his biggest credit to date, would probably be the 1992 movie Captain Ron, which was a very poorly received comedy starring Martin Short and Kurt Russell. He played Martin Short's son, and I only looked it up very briefly. It seemed very much in the vein of the family vacation movies and kind of going for that vibe when that was at its height of popularity. Like Family Vacation goes completely awry. But he did that, and he is quoted as saying that Martin Short was one of the funniest people he'd ever met. And after the nanny, he ended up attending American University in Washington, D.C., and he majored in broadcast journalism and graduated magna cum laude, making the dean's list 6 times. He was also a contestant. So
he lived this boy's life. He went to school,
not the movie This Boy's Life, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, but that boy's life. Yes.
Yeah.
You think, hot shot. But so he also, at one point in his teens, was a contestant on, Teen Celebrity Jeopardy, and he was up against Kirsten Dunst and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he won.
Wow.
And this is very interesting to me. As of February 2017, he was working at Universal Studios Hollywood as the director of operations for the park, which I'm sure is a mammoth job.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he's married and has 3 kids. And fun little fact, he's a very good dancer, and he would treat the nanny studio audience to improvise dance performances to rev them up.
Adorable.
Yeah. So that's a little deep dive into Brighton.
That's crazy. He's the head of operations.
If that's what he still does, I couldn't find. I mean, I guess I could have gone on Instagram or something, but I wonder if he.
Wow, that's pretty crazy, though. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Good for him.
Yeah.
What a world.
Seems like he. There's a lot of Ben
Listen,
Salisbury.
you can't be an actor forever,
Yeah, I mean, very few people can be, and if you can. Okay, so this is actually why I was glad that we decided not to have any of the former child actors on that we happen to know, because
we had Matt Bennett on.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I know. I just meant for this particular episode, because what I wanted to say was, and I think is a touchy subject, is, there's definitely people who do this early in life, and then it's really hard for them to acclimate just into the regular professional world after that, even if they would really like to. So in some ways, maybe it worked out for the best for, Benjamin Salisbury, that he didn't ever get to that little heartthrob period, of a couple years, and then basically have to try to come back from that when like the industry no longer cared, because he was able to sort of successfully just go do his own thing. Because a lot of child actors who especially if they do have the like, I was, on the cover of like teen magazine and girls had posters of me in their bedrooms, like they can't just go be like ho-hum executive guy when they realize that they actually like are really into like systems management or whatever, so good for him.
Yeah, good for him. All right, and who's the Fran and who's the Cece, do you think, this week?
I said, hey, maybe I'm not giving you enough credit because you seem to think that Fran should have been savvier. I said I thought we were both Frans because, like, I would definitely have let that kid out of his contract if I would have gotten played. If someone was, like, seemed very genuine and I don't have that business sense of, there must be an ulterior motive, even when there is.
Maybe I've been in a relationship with a lawyer-y person for too long, but I would have been like, hey man, contract's the contract. Like, you're doing this thing. Like, there's like a lot of money invested in this, and like, it is what it is. I guess sue us. Yeah.
All right. So I guess you're the. I'm the CC,
but I'm not because she screwed up. Yeah.
You're a competent CC.
A competent producer.
So you're neither the Fran or the CC.
I'm no one this week. I'm Niles.
I'm a nobody. Yeah, Niles wouldn't get involved in any of this.
Niles wouldn't have fallen for this shit either.
No.
Too smart. Too savvy.
Although we did completely forget to mention that the running Niles gag throughout this whole episode is that this kid tips extremely well and will just throw like $100 bills at the staff for doing menial things. So Niles is more than happy to just coax this kid's ego. And
I did write down, like, is Mr. Sheffield underpaying Niles? Like, after all these years? Like, how could Niles be this desperate for extra cash?
So I wasn't going to bring this up until we got to this episode, but I actually had a friend text me who was like, watched many episodes ahead to like season 5. And she's like, Mr. Sheffield's kind of a dick. In the episode I just saw, Niles is trying to raise his salary to like above minimum wage, and he apparently, we find out, hasn't gotten a raise in like 30 years or something. Something incredible.
Wow. I love that they were like, it'll be hilariously endearing. Mr. Sheffield's a piece of shit. Man, it was the 90s, man. It was all that hard push to capitalism was very real. Coming out of the 80s into the 90s, where it was like, if you don't make money, you're garbage. And even if you're doing a job trying to ask for a raise, like, sorry, buddy, work harder.
Hey, money never sleeps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Wall Street, money never sleeps. That's sometimes when, not that you were doing this, but sometimes when somebody goes into a rant based on anything involving capitalism or the economy, I'll just go, Wall Street, money never sleeps. It's fine. It's like, it's Hollywood, baby.
That's a good bit. Good bit. All right. Well, listen, if you liked this, was there more? Did I miss something?
No, nothing. Never.
All right, good. Well, so if you liked this, please check us out on all of the podcasting platforms, but especially on Apple Podcasts. Rate the show, leave a 5-star review. It helps other people find the show so that more people can enjoy rewatching The Nanny together with our analysis alongside it. And thank you, as always, to people that are subscribers and our monthly contributors. It is incredibly generous and kind, and we really, really, really appreciate it. And it's just very nice. So it's worth mentioning every once in a while that there's people that do that, and it's really cool. And Mr. Chef Pod on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to follow up with the show, we both check and operate both of those accounts. And drop us a line, drop us a note, send your thoughts on the show. All right.
Okay. We love you guys.
We love you. And I guess all that's left to say is like, what was the line? Oh, wow. Whoa.
Oh, wow. And then with your thumb. Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. All right, bye.
Bye, guys.
The Flushing Girl from Flushing, the nanny named Fran.
Oh, Mr. Sheffield. Miss Fine.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Oh, Mr. Sheffield, a podcast about the 90s sitcom The Nanny, starring Fred Drescher. God, I
Fred-
was really Fred Drescher. All right, I'm starting over.